All right, Wizards fans. Just another tough loss, 14 in a row now for the Wizards, who moved to 2-16 on the season. Not ideal, but they were a little more competitive in this game, which I think is all a lot of us want to see. Although I am a little torn because they were more competitive, but it was mostly because the vets did more stuff. So I'm kind of wrestling with this one. We'll get into it here over the course of the show, but first, we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside hard iced teas, hard lemonades, hard half and halves. Go have one right now. You've earned it. It's a Saturday night. You know what? Pop a couple of them. Why not? Also brought to you by Bet Online. This Thanksgiving holiday, why not head to the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting, Bet Online. From the earliest in-game odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with the constant real-time odds and action and the ability to watch these games as they happen with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, boxing, all of the above. You can find some odds on there. Head to the website today to get in on the action with BetOnline, America's most trusted site for online wagering. Sorry, my cat is running across me while I'm mid ad read here. BetOnline, the game starts here. Uh, all right, let's break this thing down. Let's do our best to at least. Just the good. Malcolm Brogdon, 10 of 15 for the game, 11 rebounds, 7 to 7 from the free throw line, which I always love to see. 3 assists, excuse me, to only 1 turnover, and he blocked a shot. Like, that's probably the best Malcolm Brogdon game we'll see this season with 29, 11, and 3. I don't think we'll get much of. And I was having some conversation with this back and forth on Twitter during the game with some other Wizards fans about just, does this make him valuable to other teams? And I think the first stat that teams are going to look at is still the fact that, he missed 11 games or whatever the case may be this early in the season. Like, we're, you know, less than 20 games into the year and he's already missed, you know, more than half. Like, it's just hard to get over that if you're going to give up assets for a player. And I think that's really going to just continue to be the problem with Brogdon. So the Wizards are going to have to decide if, the league is saying that the asking price for Nikola Vucevic is 2 second-round picks. Like, what are you really going to get for an injury-prone Malcolm Brogdon? Probably not much. And does that sort of offset what value he gives you as just like a veteran, stabilizing presence? So that's something they're going to have to figure out. Jordan Poole tonight, 10 of 23, 3 of 10 from 3, not his most efficient night. Was 8 of 9 from the free throw line, so I like seeing that. 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 3 turnovers. I mean, he's not going to shoot crazy good every night. He took a couple heat check threes tonight late in the game that I know a lot of Wizards fans had an issue with, but he also kept them in this game for legitimately large stretches of this game. Can't emphasize that enough. So I have a hard time, like, crushing him too hard on this one. Like, yeah, he did some dumb Jordan Poole heat checky things. I think that's just the kind of player he is and something you're gonna have to live with. Like, he's gonna do a lot of good and some not so good sometimes, and I think tonight was still, drastically more good than bad overall, but this was a winnable game and again, in large part due to him, but you need him as he gets, more comfortable in his role, I guess, as a leader of the team to, like, not do some of those things and resist the urge to pull up from, 30 feet when he had a lot of success, like, getting around the corner and getting downhill. And you saw him do that again after those couple missed threes, so I don't know if the coaches, reminded him of that, of like, "Hey, man, like, you can beat your guy to the rim." So you saw him kinda try to do that once they got back to, like, double digits, in double-digit deficit in the last minute or so. It's too little, too late. So it just that's a little tough, but he's a young, growing player. Again, more good than bad, I think. Kispert was 7 of 12 tonight, 2 of 4 from 3. Still not a ton of volume there. 8 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers, 4 fouls. Kispert was a minus 15 on the night. So, yeah, he gave them some shooting. This is one of those times where kind of felt the box score with the plus minus represented how I actually felt about his impact on the game. They just kind of were looking for him at times, and he just did a few dumb things early that they kind of hurt them, got beat back door and stuff like that. But At least they got some offensive production from him. He has not been shooting the three well this year, and that's the main thing you expect to get from him. So at least shooting 50% from the game, not too bad. Valanciunas, I thought he did about as well as you could have expected him to do in this one. 6 of 9 from the field, 0 of 2 from three. Didn't like one of the threes that he took, but that's sort of nitpicking at this point. But he had 7 rebounds, 5 assists. I thought they ran some like really good offense through him. The 4 turnovers is kind of wild to me. Like he has just some silly plays like that, and there have been a couple like 4 or 5 turnover nights from him this season, if I remember correctly, or at least it feels like that. And I don't kind of love that. So it's just, really reliant on the veteran players here tonight. Let's run down the young guys here. Koulibaly, 2 of 8, 0 of 2 from 3, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers. Like that's just not going to get it done. The shot attempts were kind of weird, and like he talks like they kind of harp on how much like confidence or swagger, I don't know what the word is for it, maybe like he has on the defensive end, and all like, most pros only have 2 or 3 moves, and I'm gonna shut all these veteran guys down. Like, you need him to have that on the other end and be assertive too. And he had Dame Lillard on him for like a large portion of this game. And if I'm Koulibaly, like I take that as disrespect. Like Lillard is a total net negative defensively, and you're 6 inches bigger than him. Whether you got the tightest handle or not, he's not even putting up much resistance. Like, get to the rim. I know they're gonna wall you off, but it still collapse the defense. Like, even a post up maybe, or just, like, back him down and then pull up from like a step back from 15 feet or something, like, anything. Shoot over him. Like, he's not gonna contest you. I would just like to see him take that matchup a little more personally. Sarr was also 2 of 8 tonight, 1 of 6 from 3. I'm just fucking over it with the threes from him, man. Like, just there's a reason you're getting him. He also, like, coulda swung the ball late, and it didn't matter. They were gonna lose the game with I think Poole and Brogdon were both semi open in the left corner, or left wing and left corner, and he was at the top of the key and took up, a fairly reasonably contested 3 instead. And it's just like, "Dude, what are you doing? Get your ass under the hoop and get some rebounds." Like, I hate that usually when you have the sort of older contingent of Wizards fans that like, "Oh, if he's not a back to the basket guy, he's not valuable." But, I mean, he's there is some truth to, like, the defensive versatility and mobility and things like that are helpful, but, 2 rebounds tonight, just not gonna get it done. 1 assist, not gonna get it done. At least some nights he's had really good, like, passing and people have cut off of him well, but no steals and 1 block. Just wasn't really assertive on either end. I don't know if he was wigged out by the Giannis matchup or what that was. Just not a very good Alex Sarr game, but he did play 35 minutes, or excuse me, 36 minutes. Koulibaly played almost 36 minutes. Then the other rookies, not as much tonight. Keyshawn George, less than 20 minutes. He was 2 of 6 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3. Again, only 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers. I thought he was a real bright spot defensively early in the year, and I have not felt that way the last couple games, especially tonight. There were a couple plays where it just seemed like he offered almost no resistance, and I'm not loving that. Bob Carrington, only 15 minutes tonight, 1 of 5 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 turnover. Just not much sample size there. And then Gill and Bagley were the only 2 other, people that played. It's just I don't know what to make of this one. So just kinda checking in, with the chat here a little bit. Jack AH said, "Felt like Sarr was in the corner the whole game." You're probably right, but, like, do something about it, right? Like, take some agency. Uh, ask yourself, what would Jordan Poole do if someone was relegating him to the corner? He wouldn't let that fly. So, like, go I don't know, go take some agency over what you're doing and how you're doing it, and just make some stuff happen. Sam Hershey said coaches could call some plays for the youngins. They keep sending Bilal and Star to the corners, and the vets play some top of the key nonsense. Yeah, again, I, I agree. Like, I think they could get them in better spots and set them up to be more successful. But these guys got to take advantage of those opportunities when they get them. This game wasn't totally them standing still. Like there were chances for them to put their imprint on the game, let's say, or put their stamp on the game, and we just didn't see that from either Koulibaly or Sarr, and he didn't get many minutes from Keyshawn or Bub, which I think is actually more concerning. Good that Brogdon played well, and maybe you can convince some team that yes, he is finally fully healthy, and yes, it is worth trading for him, but at what cost? Like I just want to see Bub get as many minutes as possible, and that's just kind of not what you wanted here tonight. The defense just not going to get it done. Told you on the pregame show to definitely take the over of 230 and a half points. And the final score was 124 to 114. I was actually sweating it for some portion of this game, but the Wizards got a Wizards at the end of the day here. Giannis finishes with 42, 12, and 11. And if you're not familiar with Mr. Antetokounmpo, he's quite good at basketball, and the Wizards just really had nobody that could put up much of a challenge for him. Like Valanciunas banged with him a little bit. He's just ultimately too slow. Sarr just is just not there yet to do that. I actually thought Koulibaly did a decent job on him a couple times late in the game there, and he also got some help. They sent a double team, but I don't know. Everybody kind of has to help against him in the league. And then just looking at the rest of the team for Milwaukee, like Dame Lillard, 8 of 18, 5 rebounds, 10 assists, 25 points. He was pretty darn good overall tonight. 5 of 9 from three. Brook Lopez was 4 of 10 from three for 18 points. Somehow had no rebounds, which was weird. I guess that's the blueprint the Wizards are going for with Alex Sarr, is they turn him into Brook Lopez, let him shoot 10 threes a game and get no rebounds. And I don't know, at least Lopez had 3 block shots, but yeah, it's just they're definitely a pretty heavy team there. Although AJ Green was really good for them. Like that's what I was talking about the other day. With you got to find these like diamond in the rough kind of guys, and AJ Green was somebody that people slept on, but it was super productive. And he goes out and he shoots another 3 of 6 from three tonight, and that spacing he provides is really big for them. Torian Prince was huge tonight. His only 4 shots were all from three, and he made 3 of them. Finished with 11 points. Didn't do a whole lot else, just like a little bit of stuff. He had 1 rebound, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, no turnover. So just pretty efficient. I thought Andre Jackson was still positively impactful for them. He was 1 of 7 tonight, but he had 9 rebounds and was just really athletic and put the Wizards on his heels and got them a couple extra possessions. And that's really what you need if you're a team like that. So overall, this one just kind of stings here, but I want to see them win a game or two, right? Like I love my rational brain is telling me it's really good to lose these games and lock in that number one pick. Just because you have the worst odds doesn't mean that you get the first pick, as basketball fans all know at this point. But if you have the worst odds, you guarantee yourself a top 5 pick, and in this draft, I think you really want a top 4 pick because to me, there's a fall off after 4, although still some good players. Just after that, there start to be more question marks. If you get a top 4 guy, I think you've guaranteed yourself a really productive player here. So I know they need to lose them. I can convince myself of that at the end of the day, but I just need a couple wins along the way here just for morale, just periodically. Like I can't handle, like we said on the pregame show, the 28 game losing streak the Pistons had. Like that will crush me. And honestly, no one will be watching this team. And selfishly, by contrast, no one will be watching these post game shows. But we're just running out of stuff to say. Like they're leaning on the vets pretty heavily at the expense of the young guys. It's not what you want to see. The young guys have kind of already seemingly hit a bit of a rookie wall, which is not what you want less than 20 games in here. We need to see more assertiveness from Koulibaly, especially while Kuzma is out. And whatever the front office needs to do, to make that happen, they should. And I'm kind of reminded, I get it, it's a movie, so bear with me here, but I'm going to try to make an analogy. A scene in Moneyball where Billy Bean, played by Brad Pitt, really, really wants them to start Scott Hatterberg at first base, and their coach, Art Howe, just won't do it. and he just keeps not doing it, keeps not doing it. So he finally forces his hand by trading the guy he's playing at first base instead and just saying, like, now you got no choice but to trade him, right? Like, I think there's a little bit more um, of a connection here between this coaching staff and this front office that, like, if the front office was really mandating, hey, the young guys need to play 30 minutes a game, I think that'd be happening, at least on most nights. So I'm not suggesting they're not on the same page, but it's tough, right? Like it's one of those things where at some point you may have to limit the options just to force these young guys to go out there and be more assertive. Again, we talked about it on the pregame show, but Koulibaly seems to just be too deferential to the older veteran guys at his own expense. And that's not going to be fun for fans to watch over the course of the year. I think these losses are much easier to take if, Koulibaly has 25 points. Even on low efficiency, it would still just be something to kind of cling to of like, positive hope for the future. Austin MJ64 said some politics are definitely involved in terms of scheme in the locker room. Young players aren't being instilled confidence and opportunity for the sake of the trade deadline. Yeah, I mean, you got to think if Brogdon gets that many touches, great. It is one nice thing about the young guys on this team that they've drafted. They are unselfish and they do play team basketball. So if they see a hot hand, they're going to make the right basketball play. And I think that's great in the long term, but it's also, like kind of frustrating in the short term too, of just like, yeah, like he's a veteran player and Brogdon's been a good player for a long time. We know he can do those things. It's nice for him to show other teams he's healthy enough to do that. And great. But if he ends up being here after the deadline, it's like, how many of these nights did we waste, or is it worth it to have sacrificed the development of the young guys, just to get him a few more touches? So I don't know. We're making the best of it here as a fan base. I think ultimately you just need to see a few more competitive games, and this one was at least competitive. I saw some folks say, "Well, they still lost by double digits." Like that's how it works in the NBA with like free throws and things. Like this was a one possession game, pretty late into the game, and that's much more than they've been able to say, for the bulk of the last like handful of games. Like the Clippers blew them out, the Bulls essentially blew them out, the Pacers they hung with, but Celtics they hung with, those kinds of things. It still just wasn't great basketball. Like the Knicks put one on them. So it just, we'll take this, right? So next game coming up here is on Tuesday night, December 3rd. It's at 7 p.m. It is an NBA Cup game. Wizards are at Cleveland. So Cleveland's real tough right now. I think they could be probably as tough as anyone in the league. Like Boston is kind of right there with them now. Cleveland's lost 2 in a row, and Boston's won 7 in a row. So Cleveland is sitting at 17-3. Boston is sitting at 16-3. But again, you could make the case that Cleveland, is the best team in the league right now. Thunder are up there at 15-4. So just they're going to be real tough to beat. And I think if you're looking at this next stretch for the Wizards, like they got some tough ones coming up here. They play at home on Thursday night, December 5th at 7 p.m. against the Mavericks. That's going to be tough. Then they play the Nuggets. That's going to be tough. Then they play the Grizzlies. That's going to be tough. Probably looking at December 19th against the Hornets as the next game where they probably have a realistic chance of like pulling off an upset here, unless, one of these teams just decides to sit a bunch of guys. After the Hornets, they play the Bucks, Thunder, Hornets again, 2 straight games against the Knicks, and then they don't play another like bad team objectively again until January 1st, where they take on the Bulls. So like that's a month from now. Like if they don't win one of those 2 Hornets games, we're probably going into the new year with a losing streak still going, and that is going to get really tough for us as a fan base here. So we'll see. Sam Hershey says, just keep thinking about checking on Flag, Harper, Bailey. It will help us get through this. Yeah, I mean, that's nice. It's a nice consolation prize. I want to see those guys play really well. Dylan Harper, especially, is just cooking people right now, and that's great. The more of those guys that look awesome, the better. I'll take all the options possible here for the Wizards, but it just, only going to get you so much. Byron Man 12 said Ace was cooking versus Texas A&M. versus Texas A&M today. Yeah, we saw some great stuff. I have not watched that game yet. I need to start seeing him do the other things. Like people know he can score, but you can't have a lot of the 0 assist, 0 pass, essentially, 3 turnover games and limited defense and things like that. So use those athletic traits to get other people some easy shots, get your team some wins, also get some rebounds, some steals, some blocks, all that kind of stuff. Then we're really cooking with Mr. Bailey. So I'd like to see that. Harper, yeah, been really solid overall. Flag does a little bit of everything for you. Um, Igor Demine doing a lot for BYU right now too. Didn't look as good, against Ole Miss this weekend, but that's all right. They played strong defense and they were clearly targeting him. So there's dudes, there's people in this draft, and to Sam's point, yeah, just got to keep leaning on that. So we'll see how it goes. I appreciate everybody for checking in here. Like I said, we will get back to a regular cadence with these now that I'm like traveling a little less, although I do have a trip coming up this week, and I'm gonna try to hit Stanford, see a couple prospects on their team while I'm out in the Bay Area. But then should be home for a while, and Jihadi and I will also catch back up against this, or catch back up while we do this. Byron Man 12 said Durant also averaged 1 assist per game in college. There's literally no comparison between Kevin Durant in college right now and Ace Bailey. As good as I think Ace Bailey is, he's a guaranteed top 4 pick in this draft. But Durant you could maybe make the case as the most impressive college player of all time, let alone as a freshman. And he's just not in the same ballpark, in my opinion, but that's okay. He also still passed the ball. There's a difference between averaging assist and truly never passing to anyone. But that's okay. It's early in the year, and he'll work on that. So we'll see. It'll look a lot different in an NBA context for Ace Bailey, I think, too. And he's got all the tools in the world. So just a coaching thing and a mindset thing. So not worried about that. Anyway, thanks for checking in. This was Department of Hoops. You all know the drill. Please hit that like button for us here on YouTube and hit the subscribe button for us overall. And always check these out as audio podcasts as well. So anyone listening to these the old school way, I appreciate that as someone who also prefers to listen to their podcast rather than watch them. Brought to you by betonline.ag. And we will check you all again later in the week here, hopefully when the Wizards can shake off this losing streak. All right, take care.